you?
Well, hello, Tenny.
Who's Teddy?
It's Teddy.
I'm definitely not.
You're definitely not Teddy.
I'm definitely not editing this out.
Hello, Tony. For a second there, I was like, oh, let's start it over.
No, I'm not.
But there's no way.
I refuse.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I mean, it would be super easy for me to edit this all out, but I feel like this is authentic, right? This is the spice of life right here.
Yeah, so I started making YouTube videos originally, and I would, like, I'd have a video idea in mind, and then I would do the video, and I would probably restart it like 3 or 4 times maximum, and then I would just kind of go into it. And then I started streaming, where it's obviously live. There's no redos, and it's usually easier for me. Like when I start a stream up, it's like, hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Bill. We're gonna do this today, and check this out, and just kind of like I just go for it.
It's very freeing.
It's
just
super
kind of
free.
Ramp in and
just, that. Well, one, there's less likelihood that someone's going to rewatch that. So once you've made a mistake or said something stupid, it's kind of gone for the most part.
Yeah.
There's VODs obviously, but for the most part, it's gone. But as soon as I make a YouTube video, it's like, hey baby buddy, damn it. Okay, delete that. Hi, y'all.
It's amazing how hard it is to not sound stupid.
Yeah, it's so hard.
Like you're like, hey, what is up, everyone?
Hey guys,
coming to our show. Thank you so much. And it's just like, why can't I speak like a human being right now? Like, what is wrong? What is happening to me?
I'm Will. Wait, no, that's not. I don't go by that. Like, why would I say that about myself?
A lot of like I don't listen to a lot of this because I know if I did, I'd have a hard time maintaining like a conversational flow when we.
You'd be a lot more critical about it, yeah.
Because even when I was making the intros and stuff, and I'd pre-record intros, it was so hard for me to like lay down like clean intros because I would be so like conscious.
Yeah, it's like the audible version of Where Do I Put My Hands from Talladega Nights.
Yeah, totally.
But as soon as I get that intro done and I'm like kind of rolling into the video, then it's kind of fine. But it's that initial like the nerves. It's almost like being at the free throw line or before tip off at a game where you're like you're a little bit nervous when the horn goes off, when the whistle blows, then you're going for it and it's fine.
Yeah, it's like you try and bounce that basketball the first time and it just like runs away from you. And you're like, what is wrong? You got to
get warmed up.
Yeah,
you have to get warmed up.
Okay, so how now that we're all right here and warm, how was your week, Bill?
Week has been fine. Nothing really too exciting. I got a couple of videos up on YouTube, which I have been very pleased with how they turned out. I'm not really into vlogging or the idea of vlogging, but for some reason, aviation just the act of flying and going on these small flights, these little trips, kind of lends itself to taking some video and editing it together in kind of a story-ish atmosphere.
You're such a vlogger, bro.
I know. It's kind of lame.
Mike, don't worry. They're not going to pick you up if you don't want to be heard.
They can't see you. This is audio.
This is audio only. I just turned it off. Yeah, but no, feel free to do your thing. Yeah, the guest star right there was Mike O'Game at Twitch and Twitter, one of our streaming celebrities.
Yeah.
Tech yeah it is, sir. Tech yeah it is.
So what about you, Tony? How was your week?
My week's been pretty good. Other than streaming Paranormal Activity yesterday, I've been feeling pretty good. Work's been really busy. We're kind of trying to make a lot of changes as far as format and how we're dealing with some of our promotional material, but I was legitimately terrified of that game.
So Paranormal Activity is a VR game.
Yeah.
That's based off of the movie franchise.
Yeah.
Connected to.
It's not based off. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And it was really, I hate scary games. Like we played Outlast and that scared me a lot. But at least I could like move forward in that game. Like this was like debilitatingly difficult to like interact with.
It was not good.
No, it was a terrifying just environment. Like you're just in it and you're just like, this is really bad.
What kind of imagination do you have? This might seem like it's off the wall, but like how would you describe your imagination?
Vivid.
Okay. I feel like if you have a vivid imagination, that VR is a more heightened experience to you.
I kind of agree. Like if you can I think if you're kind of one of those people that like, if you really like stories, right? Like I read books and really like visualize them well and like really get engrossed in them. And daydream. I think of like short stories in my head all the time and like, write them down or something. So I'm kind of one of those people that's like, eager to kind of embrace the experience.
Right.
And I think that definitely
eases your mind. Like your mind can accept what is being fed.
Yeah. And I love stupid fantasy movies, like Aragon, that stupid dragon movie that looks terrible. Like those kinds of like stories, I'm just like, I'm in. Put it on.
You buy into
put it on. I'm in. Let's see what happens. Oh no, the dragon! Like I get so So when it comes to like horror, and especially this VR horror, I just like I can't help but adopt it like viscerally, and it is so difficult for me, so difficult to get through. And this was terrifying. It was terrifying. How did you enjoy it?
I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it, but I also did enjoy it. I enjoyed not enjoying it, if that makes any sense. I think, had the same amount. I played a little bit more towards the end when we were kind of, stuck in a rut,
just hunting around.
Yeah, just kind of roaming around. But I had such an uneasy feeling about it, and we're video game addicts, I would say.
Yeah,
and I mean, we've all probably had, sleepovers or go to a friend's house to play a game that's a single player game. Like, hey, let's go early GTA games, and it's like every death you switch off, or there was always some mode of, okay, it's my turn now.
I would say, despite the genres, me and you are the people in this group that spend the most time inside of games.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, I would say so, probably.
Yeah.
So we, that whole like, okay, it's my turn thing went out the window playing this. It was almost like, when can I get out of this?
Yeah. And like, who's willing to take up the mantle, right? Dennis was Mr. Tough Guy, though, I gotta say.
But I bet you he does not have as an active as imagination as we do.
And I bet he was a little scared.
I think he probably just played it off. As,
I think he like, it's kind of that dad, like, I think that's the thing. Like once you're like in dad mode, you've kind of done this thing where it's like, yeah, I'll take care of the snake. I'll
a noise
kill
in the
rat.
kitchen. I'll go.
There's a noise in the kitchen. I gotta go. And you've kind of psyched yourself up so many times that it's just like, I can just kind of play this off. Like it's not. I can't. I've already kind of told myself I can't afford to be like paralyzed by these childish fears, right? These obviously not real things.
It's a silly game.
Yeah, it's a silly game. Or like there's nothing under your bed. Like it's fine. I'll stick my head down there. It's go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Your heart rate might go up a little bit still, but you got to have a hardened exterior about it.
Yeah, you got to be made of tougher stuff than that.
Yeah.
Right? To be like a parent, I think that's why parenting is so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really like a big moment in the week. That was definitely.
Did you have any nightmares about that? Did you dream about it or have any thoughts?
I didn't. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing now. I think for a long time that stuff would linger with me for a long time. And I would kind of have nightmares about it. I'm pretty good now, I think, about like at least like dealing with it in the moment. I think that's why I get so anxious too now. Like before I wouldn't get anxious. I would just be like, oh, and I would just do it. Now I get so anxious about it, but when it happens, it's just like, I'm like, I just do it.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel the feels. I think that's why it gets built up so much, right? Because I know like, oh, I'm just going to have to experience it.
Right.
But yeah, so that was a big part of the week. Another thing is kind of want to touch on when we get into like our news per se, so I'll save that. But one thing I do want to do is read our fan mail.
Oh, we got some mail. Mail time.
Mailbag.
Mail time. Mail time.
So this is from...
Yeah, mail time. Oh. That's our news jingle.
Okay, how did it go?
Mail time. Mail time. Tech yeah. Mail time.
I kind of tried to harmonize the fifth.
Yeah, that was good.
Thanks. So this one's from Positive Mike. And Positive Mike, I think I know who this is. I think it's one of our super fans.
Yeah.
He wrote, "Hey, Bill and Tony, longtime listener, first time emailer." Well, thank you for emailing.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. What is one piece of tech you could not live without, excluding your smartphone? Keep up the good work, Positive Mike. Bill, I'll let you take this one first.
Well, thank you for that question, Positive Mike. This is a legit email, too. Like, we checked before the show, like, hey, do we have any emails? And boom, this
100% legit. We did not make this up.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Piece of tech that I could not live without besides my phone. I want to say TV, but I could probably live without that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go with my computer as kind of like a catch-all with TV. I mean, you could obviously watch Netflix or really any TV on there.
Any specific peripheral or anything?
There's not really a peripheral that I think. I mean, if I just had a mouse and a keyboard and a computer, I'd be able to not survive. That's a bit dramatic, but having access to that information. So if you take the cell phone away, to be able to go to a place in your house and have access to, I mean, it's like a library. It would be like, in Victoria times, like you don't have any books anymore.
Yeah, I need my books.
Yeah. So I think access to that information, not on the phone, I would want that. YouTube, search engines, all that information, I could not live without that. Anything else, I think I could live without. I can live without sitting on the couch watching, sitcoms and whatever. We've got local sports teams, so if I couldn't watch sports on TV, I can go. If you want to include microwaves, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say that's probably not in the spirit of the question.
And you could kind of like toaster oven your way by if you have a microwave. You could get
toaster oven for sure.
Toaster oven's solid, man. It's a solid piece of
maybe refrigerator.
Yeah, refrigerator. I think that
there's no substitute for a fridge.
There is no substitute for refrigeration. But I'm kind of with you. I think my answer would kind of be PC, but I feel like that's such a cop out.
It's a pretty obvious answer.
But if there is there's two pieces to my PC, like not including the tower, like peripherals that like are standouts for me. One is my mouse. So I have the Zowie FK1 Plus, right? And it's a very plain looking black mouse, but it's my favorite.
No RGB.
No, it's got no light at all. It is the most like function over form.
So look at those OE Dell mouses.
It looks like an OE Dell mouse. It literally it is black.
That's awesome.
With a black wheel and a black cord coming out of it. It's got a little Zowie logo on it, and it's like they're very popular amongst like pros and stuff because they're just like
no nonsense.
Ergonomically, they feel great. It's a little larger. It's very lightweight. And it's amazing. I love it. It's a great mouse. I've tried a jillion mice in my life, and this is by far like the mouse for me. I tried them all. When I went on a mission to buy mice like recently because I'd been using a Razer Death Adder 2013 for the longest time, which I did like.
What a great name for anything.
Death Adder?
Death Hatter?
Death Adder.
Death Adder.
Yeah.
So the Razer Death Adder.
Yeah, 2013. It was like
we're going to add some death.
The OG one. And really, I like that mouse because it was kind of a gaming copy of Logitech and Telemouse, the original laser mouse. Like there was the tan one with the gray. The form was kind of a copy of that form factor with like a high precision laser in it. And these are all kind of iterative on that. But I love the mouse. Like I found the mouse and I'm like, okay, fine, these are the mice I can buy. There's one other mouse I want to try, but I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not going to say I'd like it.
Is it the Life Subtractor?
No, it's I can't remember what it's called.
Death Adder. What the hell?
It's Razer's got dumb names for all their equipment though.
It's dumb, but it's kind of funny.
Right, the Black Widows, their keyboard.
Yeah, that's okay.
But the Orb Weaver, I think, is their
Orb Weaver,
like a spider, a orb something. Orb, I don't know. is like their
Those must be fun
MMO
marketing
keyboard.
meetings.
I know. They must be fun. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, working for a company like that would be a lot of fun as far as marketing. Even like Corsair, like everything's pirates and boats and stuff. You're just like,
Yeah.
instead of us, it's so boring.
I
But
know. I've worked for the last company I worked for. We had some naming meetings, and it's entertaining.
Yeah,
It's pretty fun. I mean, you just have a whiteboard and you just throw up anything you can think of, and you just kind of narrow it down. And
then I love my monitor. It's a Dell. It's a 27 something blah blah DG.
You always talk about that thing.
It's so great. It was like $450. It's a TN
which
panel.
is well bought.
Yeah, I love it. For $450 for it's a TN panel. Everyone's like, oh, TN. It looks great. You gotta do a little color calibration when you get it. But it's 1 millisecond, 144 hertz, G-Sync, 2K. It is so responsive and fast. I've never you don't realize how bad ghosting is and screen tearing is until you are finally in a space that is completely absent of it and super snappy. Like I was on these kind of Korean 2K panels that used to be really popular. They were like the original like 2K panels. They're 60 hertz, and sometimes you could overclock them. But they had ghosting and bleed from the light and screen tearing. Like all these things would happen with these monitors because they just weren't like designed to be high speed. And switching over this thing, I'm just like, man, this is so good. Forza Horizon 4 on that thing with G-Sync at 144 hertz
man.
is like, it is a thing of beauty.
NVIDIA is so proud of G-Sync. They charge so much money for it, but
it's so good.
It's so good.
And I've never used FreeSync, but from what I know, like G-Sync works on an independent chip, right? G-Sync's not just some additional load that goes on to
they tack it on.
card.
It's actually built into the panel as a separate
built-in independent chip. It runs independent of your video card. It's got to sync up, but it's not taxing your video card, and it works so well. And I've never had someone tell me how amazing their FreeSync experience was. I've had a lot of opposites where people tell me how shitty it was or how it didn't work. But G-Sync it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and Forza looks amazing. And so I kind of want to stay on my monitor just because it's made gaming so much more fun for me.
Okay. I like that. Good question.
That was a really good email.
Yeah, it's a really good email.
And with that in mind, I want to say, Andy, where's your email?
Yeah, we need some more emails. So if you guys have questions, including Andy, send us an email at techyeahpodcast@gmail.com.
That's it. And Andy thought he was gonna get a shout out. He got a call out.
Yeah,
that's what you're
called out. Yeah, and like we've said before, we will read your email, the entirety of it, on the next episode after we receive it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Guaranteed. You send us an email, we will read it.
I'm also excited I got to play some Soul Calibur early yesterday. We were all down here and they were testing it, for their review. It doesn't release until tomorrow.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that this was a release. I was behind on that.
If anyone could hear this today, I'd be breaking embargo, but they won't hear it till Monday.
So that's fine.
There's also another top secret game in here, which I was checking out today.
Which we really can't say.
We really can't say anything about, but looks amazing.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I haven't seen it. I didn't get a chance to see it. I have heard from you and from others that it is just bonkers.
So that's super exciting. But the thing I wanted to talk about today was Google Project Stream. Okay, I got accepted today into Google, or yesterday. One of these days, I was accepted into Google Project Stream. Oh, we're gonna have to sit in the dark again.
Mood lighting.
All right. So I got accepted into Google Project Stream. Sorry, the lights turned off. That's why there was a moment there. But what it is right now it's only Assassin's Creed, but you can literally open your Chrome browser and play Assassin's Creed in your Chrome browser.
That is amazing.
You don't download anything. You don't have to install anything. You plug a controller in, you hit play, and you're playing Assassin's Creed. You save to the cloud. It's in 1080. It looks good.
How does it play? I mean, that seems like it shouldn't be possible.
Oh, it's possible.
Does it feel like it shouldn't be possible? Like, is it kind of amazing to you when you're playing it, or is it?
It's kind of amazing. Like when.
Okay.
I mean, let's put it this way. It's amazing in the fact that you kind of forget that's how you're playing it.
Yes, that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it sort of feels like, oh, this is just a game I have installed.
And it's just in the Chrome browser, in your Chrome browser.
In your Chrome browser.
Jesus.
Full screen. You just hold escape, pops out, minimizes into the Chrome browser window.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's basically like a video playback, right? So like when you get lag, it doesn't hitch. It reduces quality, like a YouTube video, right? How it gets kind of fuzzy if you have internet connection
Yeah,
issues.
it just knocks it down resolution.
So it does that. I haven't really had that happen at home. Like it's not really been an issue.
Okay. So is it playing? Are you like basically remoting into a system?
You're basically remoting into a server that's running the game. It's running this instance of the game.
Okay, so if there's stutter in it, the game the host game is playing through. So it's not like a pre-recorded video that's like stopping and loading and going forward.
None of that. The host game is running
soldiers
fine
on
and getting your inputs.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So like if there's lag, you don't really lag.
Yeah.
It just kind of degrades the quality, but everything's still transferring, real time.
Okay.
And man,
that is super cool.
And I really didn't have any issues with the the playability. It felt responsive. I mean, it kind of felt like playing a fighting game online. If you ever play like Street Fighter on the internet or something.
Yeah.
You don't really maybe it's there. I've never really felt it or felt like it was you couldn't adjust
or it's like isolated incidents where you're just kind of like, come on.
And I never really got that. I just felt used to it. Like it didn't.
Jeez.
It never bothered me. Right. I was never like, oh, this is terrible. I bet if you put them side by side and I switch back and forth, I could figure out which is which eventually. But playing it isolated, this is the first time I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It felt perfect. It felt completely playable. And so my question to you is, with the new consoles coming out, right? Xbox has already said they want to have a streaming console. They've already kind of announced their streaming service. PlayStation likely doing something similar. Is this something you're interested in? Would you be on board for the streaming experience, or are you going to be the guy that wants the old way?
I think for console gaming right now, because I feel like I've graduated away from console gaming, that if there's a game that really piqued my interest and there was a low cost point of entry for whatever game it is, like Assassin's Creed, like I had a lot of fun playing Assassin's Creed. I don't know if the story is gonna hook me like a Rockstar title might, or some other single player experience. But if it was, you've got a subscription and it's $10 a month, and you just kind of log in and you pick from a short list of games and you play it, I'd totally be down for that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it too. Like, Call of Duty, I'd buy and have at home, and because it's all online, and I don't want to get killed by people that have better frame rates than me, or you know what I mean. Like it's kind of competitive, so I'd want that kind of premium experience. But if it was God of War and Assassin's Creed single player narrative focused games where Assassin's Creed has like huge dodge windows, like it's not, you're not gonna if you're aware, you're not gonna miss the cues, right?
Yeah.
It's
not a game that you really have to be good at.
Yeah, not at all, really, unless maybe there's some challenging content at the end and you put it on hard and you're like, oh, this is really tough. But yeah,
you're gonna get through it.
And so yeah, it just seems so perfect for games like that, especially if there's like a discounted service, like you're saying, where maybe it's $15 a month or $10 a month if you pay for a year, and there's this library of games, including new games, and you can play them anywhere.
Yeah, and we've heard stuff like that before, where the Netflix of games and that kind of thing. That would really be the only way I would be interested in it. If it's still full price and you still have to buy it and you still have to get a key and you still got to blah, 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 blah. And like that's part of, you can play it on your browser or you can play it on your phone or something like that. That wouldn't really interest me that much because there's still like a big, chunk you got to put forward in order to play that. If they make the point of entry really low, barrier to entry really low, then that would get me into it.
Now I could see if it was like a side feature, right? Like let's say, what's a console game you like?
Yeah, Forza.
Okay, so let's say it's Forza, right? And you buy Forza, you have it on your Xbox or whatever you're using at home, or even Windows, right? You're playing it on PC. You buy Forza, you're playing it at home, you're doing really well, and there's all kinds of collectibles and stuff in Forza, signs to break and jumps to hit and stuff. Right. And, you're with your wife and you guys have to go to your wife's parents' house for the weekend. Right. And because you own Forza and it's on Microsoft and Microsoft offers a streaming service, you can literally boot up your Forza save on their TV with your phone attached to the TV or a tablet docked to the TV and play your Forza game. Take it with you without taking any hardware with you. Right?
Oh, that gives me a technology boner.
Right? Like you could, and I'm not going to do the crazy races, right? I'm not going to do online races with this because it's probably not as good and I'm going to get mad if I lag and I lose an online race. But, I could do collectibles.
It fits perfectly, for that single player collectible or just kind of like a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
Like if you could go to your, on your lunch hour, log in and knock out a couple of missions in your Fallout 4 game or
from any hardware.
From any hardware.
Anything with the browser.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Right? So I thought it was so exciting, right?
Yeah, just the band. I do have concerns of the longevity and the potential for it. Like you're gonna need bandwidth. You're gonna need stable internet, which may or may not be easier or harder to find as we move forward. It's no secret that the U.S. has the short end of the internet speed stick.
Yeah, that's true.
So, is that going to get better? Is that going to get worse? I don't know. So that would be my biggest concern is just what's the future state of our internet?
Yeah, there's challenges, but to be fair, like you can stream Netflix at 720 from your phone pretty much anywhere. You know what I mean? Like
mobile, I think is more predictable moving forward than hardline, I would say, right?
Yeah, and you can tether.
Yeah.
Well, depending on your carrier,
right?
You can generally tether, and I think as the internet becomes more of a even more ubiquitous than it is, like tethering, they're gonna have to release these like, I'm with AT&T. They are monsters as far as tethering and letting you tether, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But they're gonna have to kind of shy away from that, right? Because they're just so like I can't tether my Switch to my phone, my Nintendo Switch, and that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a
right?
bummer.
Yeah. But
so it's stuff like that. It's like the business side of it that I think is going to handicap it the most. It's, the internet access. It's going to be, well, you can't use these developers and this system, and Sony doesn't want to be involved, and you can't play this type of game, and blah, 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 blah. That's going to suck because it could, like, there's no reason technologically that it can't work with everything.
Yeah.
But where it won't work will be for bureaucratic reasons or be for business reasons or legal reasons.
Yeah, and it does suck that our internet sucks.
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot of reasons for that. One, our country is gigantic. Two, our internet is the oldest. Like we were like the first country with internet.
And we still have the same internet.
And we still have the same internet.
Yeah, it's still the same series of tubes underneath the ground. That's how the internet works.
It's not really a project you get your country to do twice. You know what I mean? But it's about time we did.
Someone needs to clean out those internet tubes.
All right. So what do you got for us, Bill?
Well, I have I liked your take, Tony. It's been kind of a weird couple of weeks technology news-wise where there's just like a bunch of bad stuff. Everything seems to be bad, right? Like Intel has their ninth gen CPU, benchmarking crap where they benchmark it against a way underpowered AMD CPU, and 2070, GPUs are crappy and overpriced and all that stuff. So I wanted to focus on the happy side of technology.
Happy tech.
Which you did. Like, I really like that browser. That idea is happy technology. But uses for technology that I think will help move us forward rather than make us more zombies. And
is this going to be related to airplanes?
Yeah, it's going to be related to airplanes. But it's related to airplanes in only the story, but it's not what I find interesting about it. So there's this company in Texas called, where's their name? It's actually kind of a lame name. Thrust Vector.
That sounds lame.
Yeah, it's not a very good name. It's just two generic nouns. So Thrust Vector is a company that is, it's a consulting company for VR and AR development. So they just work on all types of virtual reality and augmented reality technologies, software and hardware-wise. One of the guys is a pilot, so they use the Oculus Go headset, which is the untethered, like the Samsung Go variant. It just, it has its own processor on board, and it's got some, light capabilities compared to, plugging an Oculus Rift into your big bad computer. So what they've done is they took the Oculus Go and they set up. It is a virtual reality. It's not augmented because there's no external camera. But what it's done is put you in a kind of like a 3D Google Maps space, and it flies around as you fly around in the plane. So you wear the Oculus Go as you're actually flying the airplane.
It's like the movie Apache.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're seeing a heads-up display. You're seeing information about the airport. It looks like you're floating. So it would be, like if you like bumper cam on Forza or something, where you're just, you don't see any part of the vehicle. You just see the heads-up display and where you're facing. So what they're working on is augmenting flying with this technology to help with low visibility flying to make it safer. All aviation technology is based on safety, and safety through more information.
Yeah, for good reason.
Yeah, so the more information that you can give to the pilot quicker and easier, the safer it's going to be. Reducing pilot workload, and giving them more information at their fingertips. So there's electronic flight bags, which is basically like your iPad that has moving maps and a bunch of data streamed onto it through something called ADSB.
Flight bag?
Electronic flight bag, yeah.
Okay.
EFBs is kind of like the hip acronym for it. But it's basically just you have an iPad with your paper charts that you would have had, but just in digital form with your plane overlaid on it. So it's a way to get more information to the pilot quicker and easier. So this, when you've removed sight from your flying, that obviously makes it very dangerous. So if you're in IMC conditions, you can't see out of the airplane, so you're flying IFR. And a lot, most small plane crashes are due to VFR pilots, visual flight rule pilots, flying into IMC conditions. So it's someone that's
IMC.
It's like meteorological conditions where you can't see out of it. It's just you got low clouds, you got fog, you can't see. There's a bunch of like technical constraints to that. So you have pilots that are skill-wise not equipped to fly with just their instruments. Because there are some pilots that are rated to do that, where you do not have to look out the window and you can fly the plane.
I would guess if you fly like 737s or something.
Yeah, those guys are all instrument
instruments.
rated. Yeah. So you want to have as much visual input as you can, but when it's not possible, you got your instruments. So you're taking away a lot of depth. You're taking away a lot of potential I don't want to say threats, but you've got traffic, you've got a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah.
So if you have this augmented headset that you can throw on, if visibility goes to 0, you now have access to a lot more visual information, as well as more accurate information regarding your the management of your plane, the system management of your plane, engine parameters, oil, fuel levels, into airspeed, all that kind of stuff that you have to look down into the plane in order to see. This is allowing you to keep your head out of the plane, even though it's covered, but to be able to continue to scan, to look around in this augmented fashion. So what was intriguing to me about this is obviously the aviation portion to it, but this is a use for VR technology that will help make the world a better place.
Yeah, no, it sounds cool.
And it's the same thing with the second story that I have. But augmenting reality with virtual reality in ways that are either productive or safe or convenient, I think is going to help push technologies for guys like us that like it for playtime.
Yeah, and I think even, I could see when the technology is a little more advanced and when, the headsets are less cumbersome, right? There's a place for that when you're driving a car, right? If information was real time enough and, it was picking up on, if it was smart enough that we could depend on it to know what was around us, if you're driving in the rain, it's hard to see, you know what I mean? If you're approaching traffic, you don't always know, depth is hard at night. Like I got astigmatism. I could not always tell, what I mean? How quick I'm coming up on cars. So, it's amazing kind of how we'll be able to use that technology to kind of, protect ourselves and kind of advance ourselves as a species.
Yeah. It's going to create a business case too to advance the technology itself.
Yeah.
Because right now, like the early adoption of VR, it was just like the hardware wasn't great and the software, the implementation wasn't great. So it kind of didn't have any place to go. There was no driving force. It wasn't like, dude, this hardware is kick ass. Yeah, you can't play anything yet, but dude, this is awesome. Or, the hardware kind of sucks, but dude, you got to check out this game. Like, it's just going to blow your mind. Like, it's kind of cumbersome and heavy and blah, 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 but this game is badass.
It's so strange to me that we haven't, I feel like Google Glass was a good idea for a device, right? It just wasn't accessible enough, right? Like, I feel like if you could have a real heads up type AR device like that, but it was $99, right? Like, I think then you would be in a more, a place where you could really start to develop interesting ideas around how to use it.
Yeah,
right?
You got to start introducing people to this technology and give them a little bit where you can show them okay, the capabilities of this headset that you bought for $99 is at this level. But for, at the $200 hardware, you can do this piece that they may already have imagined they want.
Yeah. I mean, we look at cell phones, right? Like the amount of technology Google's able to drive just by having cell phones in people's pockets and knowing how traffic's moving and where people are walking and when people are touching what Wi-Fi hotspots and, how much of their technology they can build around just having devices in the world to give them a feel for a flow,
Yeah.
And
that was the key to that airplane, VR stuff is that the other planes need to have, the ADS-B, out to be able to, to have the other planes spot them. And that's actually, the FAA has mandated that in 2020. So we will be getting more information from plane to plane. So spotting traffic will be easier with the current technology, but when you augment it with that, then it's just the safety level goes through the roof.
Yeah.
And your car thing was a perfect example, and Nissan Renault has a version of that where they've got infrared cameras and 360-degree cameras, and you just put on the VR headset and you have this weird augmented version of the road that you're driving. You couple that with some self-driving features where it's going to keep you, centered on your lane. Mm-hmm. And now you've got, information about the car in front of you, how far it is, closing distances, directions. You've got now an overlaid, augmented, line to follow, just like in Forza.
I mean, you just think like if these things were smart and they were mandated in all cars, it's like, you would know that the car in front of you has low tire pressure. You know what I mean? You would know that they haven't changed their tires in 36 months, and maybe their stopping distance in the rain is going to be affected, right? Like all of this information as it's available, like could really, like those are the kinds of things that really save lives, right? Like those are the decisions, those are the impulsive things you need to know to like really decide like how we all kind of want to push ourselves, especially while we're driving, and I'm sure airplanes are the same way, right? Like how much risk can we take, right? How fast can we go, right? I need to make up some time. I've been on those commercial flights where it's like we got to make up time, right? And you are, and
yeah.
And as the information is better, and because I think commercial flights have so much information, there's a level of safety involved in that where they're like, we can make up time, right? And as more information is available, I think that opens us up to making up more of that time, where they're taking more calculated risks.
Well, if the national highway system mirrored in any way aviation, so many millions of people's lives would be saved.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. I mean, risk management is such a huge part of aviation and the FAA. And I'm a small government, give people freedom kind of guy, but there is like this mandating time period that you have to go through. There's a hump that you have to get over that is going to piss a lot of people off. And that 2020 time for the ADS-B for aviation it's already happening. So they've mandated, the FAA says if you're flying within certain areas, your plane needs to have ADS-B out capabilities. And those systems can be thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And because it's been mandated, there have been a lot of push for advancements in lower cost alternatives that are not hardwired in, where you got like an 11-hour battery life, you suction cup it to your window, and you've got all this information now. But a lot of people are pissed that the government is forcing them to do something that they wouldn't have done anyway, or spend money that they wouldn't want to spend anyway. So there's going to be a time where some government body, some agency is going to have to mandate something to make the push for some of those technologies that once it's implemented, once the first, the pioneers get over the $600 hurdle to get, these ADS-B things in, or whatever, potential automotive equivalent would be, you'll forget about it. You'll be like, well, how did we live without this technology?
Yeah.
Thank God all these cars have it. The guy behind me is, has an elevated heart rate. He's got to be drunk. Whatever information you have at your disposal. Somebody like you, I mean, you have, if you have a depth perception at night.
Yeah, right. Or maybe someone's having a medical emergency, right? And, they can hit a button in their car, tell their car, like, I'm having a medical emergency. Everybody around them knows now. You know what I mean? Like people can react to the information that's happening and be provided that information instead of just kind of guessing why the guy in front of him is swerving or calling him an asshole, right? Like,
yeah.
It's funny. Like, I was on Twitter today, like, and everyone on Twitter's terrible.
Pissed off at something
and arguing politics. And someone said, like, it all comes down to, like, whether you think you deserve personal freedom or whether the government should make those decisions for you, right? And it's easy to say that, but really it all comes down to whether you think your neighbor should have personal freedom or the government should make decisions for him, right? Because we all believe we should have personal freedom, right? But none of us think our neighbor should, right? Like, that's where, that's where it really turns into, like, how much do you value, like, people's personal expression of their freedom, right? Because are you willing to let everybody have it?
Yeah.
Because not everybody that wants it is, right? And so at some level, like, of course we need regulation. Of course we need to make the smart decisions that benefit all of us. All right. What was your next hot take?
So the next one is definitely not a hot take.
No,
but
it's the hottest take.
It's a similar.
This is about airplanes again.
It's about airplanes again.
Mother.
But again, it's not. But we can go. It's just the springboard.
This airplane guy.
It's the springboard. I swear to God. When
all right. Word to the listeners out there: never do a podcast with an airplane guy. All right.
We won't shut up about it. But I promise you that this is very lightly about airplanes.
What is that joke? How do you know your friend or your podcast co-host flies an airplane? So he won't shut up about it.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it.
All right. So this is interesting on a couple levels. So the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company.
On the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Is it corporate? It's not company. It can't be company, right?
It can't be company, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, what the hell is the C
British
stand for?
Broadcasting Channel.
Channel?
British Broadcasting
Email us.
Chaps.
If you know what the C stands for, email us at techyeahpodcast@gmail.com.
They're British. I think I know what the C stands for, and
Yeah.
I'm not willing to say it.
Me neither, sir. All right, so the BBC made a VR game. And it's on Steam, and it's free.
Is it called Paranormal Activity?
Nah, no. Again, do not play that game.
No, ever.
You will die. So the new BBC VR film flies you to Berlin at the height of the Second World War. So this is called 1943 Berlin Blitz, and it's based on a radio report done in World War II, where this reporter goes on to a Mitchell bomber. Is it a Mitchell? Lancaster.
One of the old radio talkies, huh?
Yeah. Hi there. Now we're up in the air, looking over the British countryside as we fly over to Germany.
Yeah, flying over the fields of Normandy, coming to you live from. I don't know.
It's quite loud up here. We are now crossing the British Channel.
Are you Terrence and Phillip? Or are you a British?
They go a little bit too Terrence and Phillip. Yeah. I work on my Mid-Atlantic dialect a little bit. So it's a Lancaster bomber for whatever that's worth. So this is from an article from the BBC. Let's see. It says the Lancaster was the most successful heavy bomber employed by the RAF, Royal Air Force, in World War II, which they spell out too. That is weird. And along with the Spitfire, became something of a British icon in the wake of the war. More than 7,000 of these planes were built, flying upwards of 150,000 sorties. So it goes through, some other, it's a 100-year anniversary of the RAF and blah, 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 blah. So basically, there was this radio report. The reporter goes into this Lancaster bomber and records the whole flight, the chatter between the bombardier and the pilot and the co-pilot and the engineer. Everyone's talking. So, and you can listen to this as well. You could just type in, BBC bomber radio thing, and it's very, very interesting. They're very calm. They're intercepted by some German fighters. They shoot them down. They're like, good shots, chaps. It's just like it's
jolly good show.
Yeah, I mean it's very bizarre how calm they are. And I mean these are kids too, which is something important to remember. But
die Nazi scum.
Yeah, die you Nazi scum. We're coming for you.
This is fun.
So fun. So they cut it up. It's not the full length of the flight, but they go, like 2 hours later, and they're over Berlin, and you got the spotlights waving back and forth, and the flak starts shooting up, and hitting the hull and all this kind of stuff. And it's playing the recording from the newscast. So you have the real life audio with this digital representation of the bomber, and it's a very, very good version of this bomber, very detailed. When you think of open world games and, even the Paranormal Activity, how much detail was in that. Mm-hmm. Now imagine this, just a bomber. They're able to spend some time on getting the details right. So it's this very, very comprehensive, very interesting recounting of this event in VR, and you're in it. It's not a game. You're not interacting with anything. You can walk around, so you can go stand next to the pilot. You can look at the gauges. You can see what altitude they're at, what speed they're at. Everything is just kind of modeled and simulated in there, and you can walk up to it and look at it. So theoretically, you can go through this short film in varying views, and you can be looking at the left side, you can look at the right, front, nose, whatever. And it got me thinking, just like the augmented reality in the airplane, if I could press a button and have all of the AAA developers working on something like this, where where you've got World War II footage. You've got the Titanic sinking, which they do have a Titanic VR thing, and it's, from what I haven't played it, but from what I've heard, it's not great. You've got the space, Apollo mission experience, which I haven't seen really too much in that. I know it exists, but you have all of these historical, even going back further, but I'm just talking about things where they have real life recordings or things, where they can get it even more accurate, that you can relive in a way that is educational.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just talking about at the beginning of the episode about VR and having an imagination and having our brains buying into the fact that we're in this haunted house and this stuff is real.
Don't talk about that. It's scary in here. It's dark.
It's really dark. So imagine now you're a 13-year-old in a history class and you put on a VR headset and you're learning about World War II, and now you're in the battle that you're learning about, and you're able to look at the faces of the guys or hear the voices of the pilot and, the shakiness in his voice, or get a feel for what it was like to be in on the Titanic as it's sinking. Or the Hindenburg. What was it like to be on the ground when the Hindenburg blew up?
You could do Magic School Bus, but your friend wouldn't have to swallow you.
Yeah. So, but it really, like, when I heard this story about this VR experience, this Berlin Blitz thing, I got like this warm feeling in my gut where I was just like, this makes me so excited for what is just down the road.
Yeah, no, it is exciting.
And it's not games. It's not, loot boxes or personal data or any of that crap. It's using the technology that we have right now to broaden our minds, to learn about history, and experience it in a way that no one has since it happened.
Absolutely. And I think it is the edutainment angle, right? Because I don't think it's just going to be kids in schools that want to try it. Right?
Definitely
I think
not.
It's going to be everyone's going to want to try it.
Absolutely.
Just like adults go to museums, right? Just like, any of this. Think if you went to a museum, right? Or you didn't even need to go to the museum, but think if you could see, these paintings of masters, right? But see them, in their original state where they were hung, or view the Sistine Chapel and it's perfect, but it's like, it's in the Renaissance, right? And everyone's dressed around you and interacting and drunk on wine and, pooping in the streets or whatever people did back then, right? Like, there's definitely going to be a lot of these kind of edutainment experiences, I think, that we can get to. And just like, even beyond edutainment, just experiences that we can have that VR will facilitate, that I think could really be incredible things, right? Just incredible things. And I'm really eager for the technology of VR to take its next step, right? I really think that monitors as we know them today on computers are going to become a thing that you only use at work, right? And when you're at home, you wear a VR headset and everything is in some level of VR, right? Where, even if you're playing a non-VR game, right? You're going to play Assassin's Creed, right?
Yep.
Well, you're still looking at the same angle, but it's, ultra high FOV because you got a headset on and you can look around and you can, and you can kind of move within that 3D space. But, you still play it like you normally would with a controller looking at the back of your guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And airplanes, too.
Airplanes, everything, right?
Yeah, you could be on an airplane and have your 70-inch TV.
Yeah, everywhere. And getting the form factor smaller. It's amazing. It's amazing to me with the advancements in cell phones that they have not found a good way to make a small form factor headset. Like the Google Daydream, I think, is a good step in that direction. Is that what it's called? Daydream, the Google?
Yeah,
the one you were just the one they use on the airplane?
Oh, Oculus Go.
Oculus Go.
Yeah.
Google has a version too.
Yeah.
But I think those are steps in the right direction, but it's like they need to be more compact, closer to the face, easier to carry. But I think we're getting there. I think as we get like super tight to that, like like I said with Google and like, everyone owning a cell phone. Once everyone owns these things and it's just ubiquitous and part of like owning a TV, the possibilities are like endless for what they'll do, right?
It's so exciting. Going back into history, what would be one event that you would want to relive in VR?
One event I want to relive in VR. The day you were conceived.
No one wants to see that.
I'm just kidding. I would want to see. Oh, what would I want to see? That's really hard. The moon landing. From the moon.
From the moon.
Like, I want to be on the moon and watch them come down.
That would be pretty sweet.
And step off.
Yeah. I've heard that space experience one is pretty good. We gotta get Mike to download.
I have too, but like I'm talking like next level, like
right, and that's kind of where this BBC thing where it was. This is the most detailed digital model of that airplane.
Yeah,
it's not some cartoony looking guy walking around and it looks fake, and you're just kind of like it's a approximation of it. I'm talking like next gen AAA title graphical fidelity, like this, the textures are crazy. Mm-hmm. It looks freaking real.
What about the sighting of the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. It's all that kind of shit where we were, 10 plus years ago, imagine like if I had a time machine, where would you go back? We can actually do it and trick our brains into thinking that we're standing there watching these guys sign the Declaration of Independence. That gives me
goosebumps.
To say
you're not?
Yeah,
what is reality?
Exactly.
Right?
What is reality? Our brains were so convinced that we were in a haunted house yesterday that
stop talking about it, please.
No, imagine being on the deck of the Titanic as it's hitting that iceberg.
What if
just
you died?
And then you die.
Because it's like your brain's like, oh no.
Yeah, because Kate, whatever her name is, doesn't want to scoot over on the door.
The door is so big.
The door is freaking huge. Move over.
Yeah, like that chick is something else.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast episode.
That's a whole nother part. Yeah, we should do Titanic Deconstructed, right? Because that movie's so weird, and she is something else in that movie.
But it's a good example of like a historical event that everyone's kind of about. Like everyone's at some point been interested in the Titanic.
Yeah, there's a lot of curiosity
around it and reliving, and that's why that movie, part of the reason why that movie did so well. But I mean, you've got there a digital recreation of the Titanic that is absolutely gorgeous. There's no way with the technology now that can't be put into a simulation that now you can walk around.
How about this? All right, absent of history, and I know you got to get out of here, so we'll wrap up in just a sec. But absent of like the historical context, right? Would you feel like you needed, let's say, a race car if virtual reality was to a level where you felt like you could, drive the hills of Italy in a Alpha? You know what I mean?
Some
if
of those
it really felt real.
Yeah, some of those experiences, no, not really. And there, a lot of.
Would I need a supermodel wife if I could have a virtual one?
Now we're getting into Ready Player One, level kind of stuff.
But that's what it is, right?
It totally is. And the way our brains work, our animal freaking brains work, is probably not. I mean, there's things that are missing from that experience that you can't recreate, that we can't recreate yet.
Mm-hmm. We'll get there.
We will get there, but yeah, no, not really. I mean, I know so many older guys that can no longer fly a plane because of medical or cost or whatever. I may have touched on this before, just regarding simulations in general.
We know about planes,
but yeah, you're taking something now that people have done in the past and can't do, and you're giving it. They can scratch that itch now. There's no question that we're going to get to a point where that's the case.
And there's no limit on
no limit whatsoever.
What those could be.
But just the educational side of it, where you can relive and have a greater appreciation for what some of our, ancestors went through, what it was like in the 70s, the Apollo missions. What was it like to watch that thing shoot off from Cape Canaveral? What was it like to be Neil Armstrong sitting in there?
I mean, we could think it could get to such a personal level, right? Where it's like you could have your grandkids experience sitting with you watching the moon landing on television, right? Like, here's what it was. Here's the memory. Here is like what this was like to be in this era and watch a black and white television and experience this thing and like the joyfulness and like the energy, right? Because I think, you know, as much as watching these things is amazing, I think the energy around experiences is also like such a big part of them, right? The context and like the you know, like seeing how excited people, you know, like that's why when you watch a wedding tape, it looks stupid. When you're at a wedding, it's a powerful thing. You know what I mean? Like it is though, right? Like I've never cried watching a wedding tape, but I've cried at a wedding. You know what I mean? Like, because it's something powerful about being with a group of people and like seeing that experience and like realizing it's like a big deal and, you know, this guy's daughter, right? Like,
well, think about just home movies, setting up a Samsung 360 in the middle of some room, and you just record it, and you go back. You can replay that in VR.
Yeah, like you know, when you watch a Facebook of some old man getting a puppy and crying, you're like, oh my god, like, you know what I mean? Like when you see it for real, you see the reaction. Yeah, it's so much more impactful.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we got to go because I'm keeping you too long. I told you I'd get you out of here on time, and I promise to do that. And my clock says it's 1 minute from that time. But Bill, where can all our friends out here find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/BILL4LE or twitch.tv/the same BILL4LE.
And I am the Tone Face Killer, real spooky, very October-like. TONEFACEKILLAH on Twitch and Twitter. You can always email us at techyeahpodcast@gmail.com. And please, if you get a chance, tell a friend. You can find us on iTunes. Any Android podcast app will have us if they're worth their salt. Spotify. I don't know. You can go YouTube. It auto publishes too. Anywhere. If you want to find us, we're there. So tell your friends. Have them tell their friends. Then they'll tell their friends. And then we're the biggest podcast in the world.
Yeah, we want to get to the point where we literally cannot read every email that we get.
And if you see us on the street, don't look at me.
Not in the face. Do not look me in the eye. Do not look me in the eye.
You can look at my shoes and say you like the show. Don't you dare look me in the eye. And with that, I love you guys. Bill, it's been great.
Been great, Tone.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Love you.